Hello, everybody. It is Andy Smith, your host with the most, 33-year veteran of the comic book industry, with this week's book look, Design Your Own Anime and Manga Characters, Step-by-Step Lessons for Creating and Drawing Unique Characters by T.B. Choi. I hope I pronounced her last name correctly. This is by a female artist, T.B. Choi. She is known for doing character design and concept design for video game companies and such. Guys, just Google that name, follow her on Instagram. She has a great YouTube channel as well. I bought this book because it's kind of overall in the style of artists like Dan Moira, Mora. Love Dan's stuff. First discovered him on Power Rangers. Now he blew up at DC on World's Finest, stuff like that. And it's kind of Jorge Jimenez as well. So if you like that type of work, I would definitely check this book out. She has great designs in here. I love her style. I haven't bought a fun, good how to draw book in a long time. And if you follow me, I've mentioned before, I love good how to draw books. Even bad how to draw books, I can pick up stuff from. But this book, overall, is fantastic. I see this, and I do wish this was all drawn on paper, but I'm pretty sure all this is digital. She's not that old. She may be 30. But I like the stylization of stuff. I like... she breaks down a human skeleton, very simple, but I like seeing how she's indicating bony landmarks and such here. Bony landmarks are very important to keep note of when drawing. And then we get into the anatomy, the muscles. One of the things here is, pretty realistic proportions. At least it looks that way. I can't remember if when I learned this was like this figure, when I first read this book, I should say, if this figure right here, if she broke it down into the old, not old as in, don't pay attention anymore, but, I grew up learning with the human figures 8 heads tall proportion system. So that's cool. Male anatomy. Then on this side, instead of doing female anatomy, because it is all the same, she just draws a front side 3/4 view of a female figure. I think if you study guys like Dan Mora and Jorge Jimenez, his work, who's doing phenomenal work on Batman, I think you'll see some of this overall style in there. Of course, getting into simplification. Even this is nice and simplified, so you can see the shapes underlying that she uses. Going into, once again, kind of bony landmarks, and then fat placement, and not P-H-A-T fat. No, fat. But it's cool seeing like, hey, you're drawing somebody a little heavier, shall we say, and how you would do that. Oh, so here we go. Basic human proportions. It is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So see, look at that. 8-head high figure. Depending on who draws it, you could look at it and be like, wow, that looks like a regular, standard, human you see walking around. But we are not 8 heads high, guys. We're like 6 or so. But it's on how you play with all the proportions, thickness of the shoulders, waist, stuff like that. I don't know if she falls into the 8-head category just because she's shorter than him and her head looks about the same size, but doesn't matter. Nice hourglass shape. You can see, the standard proportional setups for the male and female. Simplified skull, and then here she gets into drawing the head. Pretty basic stuff. This is a good rule right here, almost like a tin can, if you will, how it curves around the face. The features curve around. Right here, where you take the ball and then slice it vertically and horizontally in half, Cutting this little section off here, the side, because the side of your head, if you feel it's flatter, that's a Andrew Loomis thing. That's where I learned that from. And then landmarks of the skull, and you can see breaking it down. But once again, I like it because you get to this stage and it's definitely more stylized and cartoony looking. Even just breaking down the mouth and such, and different forms of like the lips. Like you see artists do this. That's flat. That's wrong. The mouth is on what they call mouth barrel. That, I believe, I learned that originally from Hogarth and George Bridgman. And of course, eyes. This is what I really like about this book. These are more stylized, and I think that's really cool to see. And then even this, breaking the eyes down into kind of like a mask. Once again, wrong. It's not flat across. It is built on a curve. This is good here to show as well because the face curves around, but then the eyes are these separate balls that set into the eye sockets. So even ears. Now, it would have been cool to show, so you got the side view. Guys, remember the ear's basically this Y shape. I go over that in my drawing book. The inside of the ear's this Y shape, and then front view, back view. I would like to have seen back 3/4 view of the ear because of how this overlaps and stuff when it's a back 3/4 view. But still, then it gets down to different styles and stuff. Same with the nose. Arms. And see, I really like this. This is very George Bridgman, how the shapes of the shoulder, upper arm, and lower arm interlock into each other. If you just look at the anatomy, it can kind of be confusing, but when you break it down this way, it's simpler. One thing to remember, the upper arm, the front of the upper arm is thinner, the side is wider, and then the lower arm is just the opposite. The front is wider and the side is thinner, and it interlocks up into the upper arm. That's a big George Bridgman thing too. I like how she color-coded it so you can see the different positions, what part of the anatomy you'll see. Goes into more of it too, breaks it down nice and simple with the inner and outer condyles. That's what those bony landmarks are on the side of your arm, and then the elbow is in the middle. Love these hands, by the way, and she does get into hands later in the book, but these are just so expressive, so nicely done. Oh, look at that. Speak of the devil, there's the hands. General proportion of the hand is the size of your face from your chin to like your hairline. The pinky finger reaches the top joint of the ring finger. And yes, I'm looking at my hand right now, this one, so you can't see my fingers, but look at that. You can. Look at that. Tip reaches the top joint. I love reading that stuff and then going, wait, is that true? And then doing it. Now, I knew that before from drawing, but just for you guys. And then breaking down the fingers themselves in the shapes and such. I think that's great. I think this is one of the more, like, obviously Bern Hogarth and George Bridgman go through all this too, but I think from a comic book style standpoint, this does a really great job of it. And especially blocking in like this. And then the big shapes over here and such. Of course, getting into the old legs. Once again, nice aspect of the form. Curves this way and then this way. That's an S curve. Learned that from Hogarth. Another thing I learned from Hogarth is if you, from the crotch down to this ankle, you can pretty much drop a straight line, and nothing should break that straight line on the inside, and on the outside, it's a B shape. So, nice one for shortening. As you can see, this book is not super text heavy, which I also think is cool because I learned more from visuals, and you can put tracing paper over this, of course, and trace over it. I love seeing contours like this. That's, I think Hogarth did that as well. It's good to understand the contours and the shapes of the different parts of the body. Feet. Feet are not easy. She breaks it down rather easily. Even right here, that's like a boot, comic book shoe boot, and then coming over to it, and you can see how the toes get into it. And of course, showing shoes and such not. That's, I meant whatnot. So simplifying forms for gesture and poses. Love this. You know, very basic is right there. But then this, if you can get these shapes down here, I mean, you're really good to go. And this is where I'm saying, looking at this stuff, I really get a sense of Dan Mora and Jorge Jimenez and their work. And then obviously, you know, her work as well. She's Korean. English is her second language. I'm very curious what type of schooling she had and what anatomy and figure drawing books she studied to get to this point. Because I think this is so very cool. So exploring gesture, once again, you can see just using these basic shapes, how to develop your poses and such, and how to break down the stuff simply before getting into all the anatomical detail and such. Love this basic mannequin shape here. Once again, different angles. Very nice, very cool looking stuff. Talking about women's breasts, boobages, as I like to say, and how they lay and they fall on a real woman compared to somebody that has, let's say, silicone implants where they just sit there. It's 2024. I guess they're better now. But on a serious note, this simple, basic shape right here, and seeing that. And then the male torso, male cleavage. Yeah, for guys to have cleavage, they have hit the pec deck and the bench press really hard to get male cleavage. And then adjusting body shape to fit character. Love this right here. Just using basic shapes to inform your overall character. Right here, I'll be honest, if I didn't know any better and I just saw this, I really would think that somebody like Dan Mora or Jorge Jimenez sketched this out. And that's what I'm saying. You know, she's Korean. Dan and Jorge, I think Jorge's from Spain and Dan might be as well. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But they definitely have this same way of breaking down and constructing the figures and even almost their line work as well, which I think is really cool. And this is great cartooning here with these different body shapes and body types. I love this. I would love to have her draw a First Man in Penumbra, and then of course like a Kor-Drath as well. This work also reminds me of early Kieran Grant. Great artist. I discovered him way back on a book called Gazillion that came out through Image. And then he did Kaboom for Rob Liefeld. And then he went on and did some great Iron Man work for Marvel. And now his work is just at another level, mixing like comic book work, but almost fine art. Definitely look at Kieran Grant's work. This is cool right here. Once again, showing the shapes and how they interlock. Remember what I said? The bicep, upper arm, thin on the front, thick on the side. And then the forearm is just the opposite. Wide on the front, thin on the side. Keep that in mind when drawing forearms and your arms, because it makes a big difference, especially when you're drawing tight like gloves or sleeves around the different appendages. Silhouettes, of course, very important. And this is nice, drawing hair, clothing, and accessories. So breaking down drapery and folds in a nice, simplistic way. I think it's very cool. And I just love, even though she's not gotten into hairstyles yet, God, I love the hairstyles and the way she does hair. So very cool here. Nice, simple way to break down the clothing. Even like ruffles and stuff like that. Folds and movement, really cool. Definitely goes into more detail than I did in my drawing book that is now almost 25 years old. Wow. So really nice section on clothing, even breaking it down like this, which I've seen in Hogarth and Bridgman before as well. But once again, those books can be intimidating, especially I remember being a kid looking at them because Bridgman and Hogarth were so advanced, whereas you look at this, and because it's in a comic book style, it's a lot easier to comprehend and understand. That looks like it's right out of the Sony Spider-Man multiverse movies right there. But proportion and clothing for the youth. And we're only 93 pages in. This book is, standard 144 pages or so. Framing, hair. Oops, camera just popped down some. Sorry about that. Simplifying hair. Fantastic right here. Hair is still something that every now and then I struggle with because there's just so many different ways to do it. Braids, very cool. Getting into man hair, but just different, just beautiful, long waves of hair. And it is, almost think of it like a ribbon, if you will. I remember Adam Hughes broke it down that way in one of the wizard tutorials he did way back in the day. And then here you go, even drawing hats and breaking down the divisions and proportions of a cap. I mean, that is just very cool. Drawing glasses. Yep, this is true. You see a lot of people do this where it's just flat on the face. Nope, glasses stick off the face. Got to give them that depth. Conveying dimension, emotion, and character. I also like the design of this book overall. Nice, great comic book feel. Going into a little bit of light and shadow here. Even a little bit of inking stuff. Different techniques for using line. Putting it all together. And then just some different characters here. Once again, very strong feel of Dan Mora and Jorge Jimenez. And I'm not, I think all these artists I'm mentioning are all around the same age. So it's just cool because, if you look at Marvel and the artists of the 70s and 80s, you can tell they were all around the same age and all had kind of the same instruction and stuff. Head shape, I did this in my book. I even did it with women. I did it with women and men, I think. Or face shape, you could say. So drawing faces from different angles. Of course, emotion and expression. Jack Ham did something like this in his book, just using simple circles, squash and stretch animation techniques. Man, I haven't looked at this book in a long time. I'm glad I pulled this off my shelf. This is just really nice. This has got to be one of my favorite books I've seen in such a long time. Telling a story through gesture and, of course, face. Creating a character's backstory. Pets, chibis, and sidekicks. One, I love that. That is just so freaking cool. Look at this. This looks like it stepped right out of Disney right here. just great. I mean, this artist is just so good. It looks like Dan Fraga's hairless cat right there. And then chibis are, of course, the cute little characters. I drew one of those for my daughter, First Man Like That. And then you can see going from realistic to a chibi type character. Kimono Mimi and Anthros. So Anthros are, you know, animal, human. A Kimono Mimi is a human figure with animal characteristics. I thought that was what an anthropomorphic was, but okay. That is just so freaking cool. I'd buy a book with that guy. I wish this artist did comics as well as character design stuff. You see, I see this stuff and I just think to myself, man, I wish this person drew comic books, because I would be all over a book drawn by this person. You know, I think I'm going to reach out to him and see if I can get him to do an interview. We'll see. It'd be cool if I could. And it goes into coloring too. Guys, get this book. It is fantastic. About the author, T.B. Choi is a character concept artist, drawing instructor specializing in anatomy and character design. Included among her many celebrated film, animation, gaming clients are Adobe, EA Entertainment Arts, Sony Pictures, Guerrilla Games, Netflix, Real FX, Riot Games, Blizzard, Epic Games. And then here you can follow her Instagram, Twitter, and like I said, she has a YouTube channel. I will link to this book because I think you should buy it. This is fantastic. Came out 2022. I bought it right when it came out. There you go, guys. Thank you for watching the book look. As always, I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share my channel around. Spread the good word of the Andy Smith cartoonist, comic book artist YouTube channel. Let's keep it growing. I appreciate every one of you for watching and the comments you leave and share. Thank you so much. Please stay around to watch the video of Nice and Tight, the comic book pencil art of Andy Smith. That's me, an oversized book showing some of my favorite fully pencil pages I've done over the past 20 years, 25 years before I started penciling and inking my own work. Now you can take a peek behind the curtain and see some fully penciled pages that only the inker and editors have seen. Once again, thank you guys. I will catch you with another book look next week. Bye-bye, everybody. Nice and Tight, the comic book pencil art of Andy Smith. That's me. This book features 52 pages of some of my favorite full pencils that I did for other companies over the past 2 decades. The raw pencils as they were seen by the inker, and now you can see them for the first time. This book also comes in a digital format so you can practice your inking in your favorite program. Back it today.